welcome to this
Welcome to...
I'm here with Emma from Narrowboat Girl. Ahoy!
Welcome to our live stream.
I'm here with Emma.
Good to see you, you two.
Would you like to introduce your channel? I'm Emma from Narrowboat Girl, and I've been watching the Narrowboat Adventures for a very long time, since we've actually been in the house, so I really like your videos. Well, I'm so glad. I'm happy to have bumped into Emma today, because I'm going back to study in, actually on the 23rd, so in about 2 or 3 weeks. I've been studying at, like, an evening course, but now I'm going back to full-time study. So, who else to talk about studying with than Emma, who is a student herself? Well, a student in the sense of that she is in school still. So, you are studying as a homeschool, is that right? Yes. You're homeschooled, boat home, that is, of course. So I wondered if you had any tips for studying in a homeschool situation or in the boat. Well, if you're homeschooled, even if you don't live on a boat, I think a little bit of structure is good. Like because when I was in school, you kind of started from 9 to 3. Obviously, you don't have to do that at the exact same times. Like, you can maybe do an hour of, like, English, then stop for a break, and then do an hour of maths or something. So definitely homeschool, you don't have to have the perfect structure from this to this time. You can kind of be like, you can do a bit then, then bit then, then bit then. So homeschooling is definitely a bit more flexible, so you don't have to worry about, like, when I first homeschooled, I had to get out of the habit of asking to go places and getting things, like the water bottle. We had the water bottle thing away from us, we had to ask. So homeschooling is just flexible, so you can kind of you don't have to worry about that too much. So it sounds like what you were saying there is that you think that it's still a good idea to have a structure and to have a bit of a timetable, but the advantage of homeschooling is it can be a little bit more flexible. So if you start getting really tired or losing concentration, you can move on to a subject that you maybe have a bit more brain power for. Yes. And what do you think the disadvantages of studying on a boat are? I guess when you're homeschooled, you can still obviously go to homeschool groups, especially in the house. Here we search on home ed groups and everything for like home ed groups around. Obviously, if you're in a house, it's a little bit more easier for those because you're in one specific area. But I have a bunch of online homeschool friends that I've met through the internet, and I've met up with a few of them. So definitely I think maybe moving around a little bit more and not being able to go to as many homeschool groups as I used to is a little bit of a disadvantage, but you can it's still pretty easy finding homeschool groups around here. Okay. When you're moving, so it's kind of difficult to meet up with people when you're moving a lot because you're not going to be in the same vicinity all the time. Yeah, I met this girl and she was on a private mooring. And we talked for like the weekend that we were there, and then we moved on. But we still chat on Instagram sometimes, so we still keep in contact with these people. And you've mentioned as well.
And you mentioning
a bit of an issue of like space for storage for the studying items, and then also Wi-Fi and things like that. So more of the like practical difficulties you mentioned before we started filming. Yes, we have like a whole bookcase, and that has like all my homeschool books, and I have a notepad where I used to have like specific notepads for specific subjects, but I thought if I just have one whole notebook where I can just write stuff down in, like with my times tables or maths or anything, then if I just one specific book, then I can keep that safe and it won't get ruined or something. The internet's absolutely pretty fine. Where I'm more right now isn't the best, but I can still do my ed plays that I have. And if I need to search up something specific, I can use YouTube, which is really helpful for my homeschooling, with if I want to do specific blocks or where I want to go. So storage hasn't been crazy on the boat. We had maybe a few old bookcases in the house for books, but I think it was kind of the same. Okay. And you've mentioned that you use YouTube for studying, so is there any particular channels that you think are particularly good for studying? Minimalist, because they travel a lot, so we can plan our routes, so I get to plan that. So definitely Minimalist, Cruising the Cut, because you've mentioned that you use videos in your homeschooling. I wondered if there's any particular channels. Yes, there's this channel that it's kind of like they get like loads of different clips, of like a specific subject, like plants or science, like of a flower production. So then they'll do a voiceover on that, which I watched some of those and wrote down notes and stuff. I can't remember what the channel name is.
Maybe you can message me and I'll put it at the bottom of the screen now.
Yes. I can't remember what it's called, but that's a really great little channel. And then Khan Academy, because that has videos on it. That they have actual real teachers, and then they draw of like if you're trying to do subtraction or addition or fractions or something, which that's really great. I'm trying to think of any others. Is there any other YouTube?
Well, your ukulele, you've learned your ukulele through YouTube, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I watched a lot of ukulele tutorials. There's this lady that does a load of ukulele tutorials, she was really great with.
And I have to shout out my friend, the ukulele teacher. He also has a brilliant ukulele channel. I also use him.
So I
Now,
use.
we can't really have this conversation with all these dogs without talking about them, I think. So something that you may not know if you don't watch Emma's channel, and if you don't, why not? I'll put a link at the bottom of the description, and probably also put it on the screen somewhere at the moment. But yeah, you have a lot of dogs. Do they ever distract you from your studies? Because I have a cat and she sometimes does distract me from my studies.
Well, when a person or a boat's going by, they can go a little insane and start jumping everywhere. And they've ripped a few pages out of books sometimes from their insaneness. But they're generally pretty well behaved when I'm doing homeschooling. They probably just sit around doing nothing.
I mean, they're being pretty good right now, actually. They're just all having a very relaxing moment right now.
Sitting on my favourite jacket, they love sitting like that. Podge just shoved himself in their steps.
Do they ever sit on your books? Because my cat, when I'm trying to edit, constantly sits on my keyboard.
Yeah, they do a lot. Sometimes those books there, when they're jumping up the window, they pull them down, pull them on the floor. So definitely the books get a bit beaten up from them. So they're pretty cooperative with my homeschooling. They drag books down sometimes, but since the surfaces are so low, it's pretty easy for them to do that.
Nice. And it probably doesn't really matter because they're not falling too far.
Yeah, that's true. So.
And I suppose it's quite interesting for me to meet anybody who is as young as you. Like, there aren't that many young people living on the canals, certainly that are still as a family living on the canals. So I guess I just wonder what it's been like for you comparatively since you moved onto the boat compared to when you were on land. As far as just like, I mean, obviously if you want to know all of Emma's opinions on this, you probably need to go to her channel. Was it something that you had discussed with your mum when you did it, or was it something that she said we're going to do this and you were like, okay, let's go?
Well, we wanted to live off grid for a really long time. Our first option was the yurt and a bit of land and woods. That isn't a really good option in the UK with planning permission and everything. Then there was the van, but that probably would have been the best option for the dogs because it's such a it's a really small space even with a big van. We thought of a caravan, but again we didn't want to have to drive in. It would have just been a bit of a pain trying to find spots. So we actually, one of the dogs that we were taking to a foster home, they actually lived on a boat. So we actually, when after we came home, we did consider a boat, but then we thought if it was okay for the dogs, so then we leaned back from that option, and then we decided a boat's actually a pretty good option because if you can get a reasonable sized one, like a 49-foot one, and they generally stay in the same room with us all the time. Like when we were in the house, we had a 4-bed house, and they mainly stayed in our small sitting room. So it wasn't much different, to be honest. Like, it may be a little smaller here, but it's kind of the exact same. So space-wise and everything, the boat was it was a pretty good option for the dogs, and as well as we got them out more, and in the smells and everything.
They enjoy the pack life.
Yes.
But it sounds like overall you like it, or would you say that you can't wait to get back to land?
I really like it. The only thing that I miss about the house is the bath, because it was really nice. Sometimes when it's a long day, you can just chill in a bath, throw in a bath bomb if you want or something.
Yeah, I agree.
But everything else, the house was so big. Since my mum used to foster, we had a huge house, and we didn't need that house anymore. And we were thinking of maybe downsizing to like a small little cottage, maybe in a village. But we thought a boat would just be a different experience, and we get to move around a lot. And as well, I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel. I had a small cringy little YouTube channel in the house.
Oh, me too.
Which I did my awesome faves video. It was like mainly just a party thing, like a slinky. I got one party guide like 2 years ago. That's the one that complains.
That's okay.
Freeze on.
Chaos. 2 more dogs have entered the room.
Alright, I'll take Angel out because
I don't mind.
I know she'll just walk things over. Angel!
They look
Go around the batteries. See, she'll go the batteries.
Should we go on the batteries then?
Yeah. Everybody has a dog with their lithium batteries.
Angel, go on the batteries. Teddy, but you're just taking
I'm really enjoying this very much. I love dogs, and although I love my squeak, I'm more of a dog person. Oh no!
That's an example
It's
of the
all
dog
over the place.
dragging the thing. You can see where they ripped.
I can see, yeah. Anyway,
Teddy bear, chill.
Go, Angel! Angel!
Squished you.
yes, right, where were we? Yes, so you used to have a channel, and you've always liked YouTube. It sounds a lot like me. I had a channel for about a year, and I learned a lot from doing it, but I never had a clear idea of what I wanted to make videos about. So it was lots of very different videos. And so yeah, once I then started making videos about narrowboating, I took the information that I'd learned from doing the first one, applied it to the narrowboating videos, and because it was more of a like specific direction, it wasn't so bad. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for letting me speak to you today.
Thanks for letting me to speak to you, both of you today.
If you'd like to join us again,
If you'd like to join us today on my new live stream,
if you'd like to see the video of Emma's,
yeah,
I'll put a link in the description for
I
it.
will though.
If you haven't seen Emma's channel, which is Narrowboat Girl, you
Oh.
definitely should. She has really interesting videos and a perspective
Thanks-
unlike any of
Thanks to
the
you
other
and Emma though.
makers that I've ever seen. And so I highly recommend her. As I say, I'll put a link.
As I'll just say, as I'll just say,